Maduro stole an election. 65% voted for Gonzalez. And the military operations by the United States were certainly not discussed in advance with allies around the world or with Congress. But we see this playing out very dramatically over the weekend. And it's very clear that the United States is changing the rules of the road internationally. It is embracing the law of the jungle, where the United States is militarily the apex predator, perhaps less so economically. We can talk about that. And clearly, the operation in Venezuela is not the only incident that we are going to see. Okay,
so Dr. Bremmer, how different is this from the kind of adventurism Washington has long condemned? And what does that do to the U.S. claims of defending a rules-based order?
Well, it is of course different than the Russian invasion of Ukraine, for example. Ukraine was and is a democratically elected leadership that the Russians attempted to overthrow. Maduro was not democratically elected. Chavez was. Maduro stole an election. 65% voted for Gonzalez, and they refused to allow him to be seated. And he is a clear narco trafficker internationally, and not many people are unhappy to see his demise. But the regime in place is still the same. The military operations by the United States were certainly not discussed in advance with allies around the world or with Congress in Washington. And there's a lot of opposition to that inside the U.S., and there's a lot of opposition to it outside. But it's less about how people feel and more about what they're going to do about it. And there, what we've seen is there's not a lot that most countries, I mean, Venezuela has friends, or at least had friends, like Russia and China and Iran, and none of them have done anything to support Venezuela over the last 72 hours. The Europeans are, of course, very concerned about what Trump is now saying about Greenland. They're concerned about his apparent willingness to push the Ukrainians a lot harder than the Russians to end the war in Ukraine, which is Russia's illegal invasion. But they're not saying very much to criticize